Welcome again to Studio 14's Overton County Magazine. I'm your host, Jerry Stovall. Overton County Magazine is a show designed to bring our viewers a look at some of the interesting as well as informative people and events occurring in and around Overton County. Some of our stories are videotaped on location, while still others will be brought to you straight from Studio 14. So why don't we all sit back, relax, and thumb through this week's magazine. For those of you that haven't had a chance to get out and see the new Highway 42, we thought we'd give you a view of this. We're standing just north of Wendell Road, looking down towards Livingston. It looks like they're progressing along pretty good, and maybe before long we'll be able to travel this road. Behind me you see just one of many of the massive bridges that it takes for a new highway like Highway 42, and I think it's a good example of what it really takes. You can see the banks have been sown and are coming up real green, even as cold as it is right now. We're about a half a mile south of Wendell Road, and this is just about where the greenery stops. So they've made a lot of progress this first year. Now we're looking south towards Cookeville here, still at the Standing Stone Road. It looks like the banks and everything have all been seeded, or that is on one side of the highway. It looks like the other side's yet to be done. But it does look like the bridges from here are intact. A little farther down south on the new 42, right now we're looking back over towards the old highway where they're building a new bridge. I'd say just about everybody's got caught over there at one time. Now back over here, there's no road as such, but right now we're at the bridge site that would be adjacent to the old highway. It looks like they're coming along. Right now it's flooded. But I'd say come Monday morning they'll be pumping it out and starting to work again on it. It's just a little farther down, and eventually we'll have this new road in. In this segment we're going to address a problem which faces most of us this time of year, and that's chimney cleaning. I know I've got 3 flues myself, and I don't really care for that particular chore, but it is necessary, and our guest tonight is a fellow that does it for a living. So we'll talk to him. We're talking about Bob Marengo, which is the Lullaby Chimney Sweep. Right? How you doing, Bob?
All right.
Okay, I'll tell you what, to start off the program, let's take a look at the fact that chimney cleaning is something that a lot of people disregard and just go ahead and fire up their stoves in the wintertime when it gets a little cool, and they get into trouble. Now, how about telling us a little bit about this? Can you tell us what we can do about this?
Well, basically you have to keep your chimney clean. The only way you can really do it is mechanically with some brush or scraper, something like that. Creosote is the most publicized danger of wood heat, and it's one reason that wood heat gets a bad name. But there's other aspects that are even more important, really. Creosote is just more or less a symptom. And
okay, it keeps building up.
You burn wood, you're going to get creosote.
Okay.
There's no two ways about it.
Am I correct in the fact that the greener the wood is, the more creosote that you'll accumulate?
Yes and no.
Yes and no. Well, that sounds like one of my questions.
It's possible to make less creosote with green wood by burning it wide open than burning dry wood shut down.
Oh, okay.
It's more important is how you burn it than what you were burning.
Okay. But with dry wood, you can still get a good creosote buildup if you're
tremendous amounts of creosote with dry wood.
Okay.
If you burn it the wrong way. The idea is to burn the wood and not smoke it.
Oh, okay. Well, really, if you've got a stove, then it's too big for, say, your house.
Exactly.
You'll get more of a creosote buildup.
Okay. If you have to burn your stove shut down a lot, you're going to make a lot of creosote. Whenever your flue temperature drops below 250 degrees, that's when you get a lot of creosote condensation. It's a gas that condenses out of the smoke.
Okay. Well, I know I do have to clean mine a couple times a year, and it does get pretty thick. In fact, one time I think I had it to the point I couldn't even see up my flue.
Is that right?
I've got a clean out door, and
Mm-hmm.
I could use a mirror, and I couldn't even see through the hole.
Yeah.
And,
I see too much of that.
Yeah, my indication on my particular one of my stoves is the fact that it seems to smoke back on me when I open the door.
Yeah.
And but now, if somebody has a problem like this, all they have to do is call you, and you live in Jamestown.
In Jamestown, right?
Okay, we'll show the number here in a little bit, and you'll come out and clean the flue for them. And I think in this we've got a brochure here. We'll go ahead and show this if y'all can get a shot of it. It's when you heat with wood, and this is your particular brochure for your business.
Right.
Okay, and inside it gives the details, different ones about it, and about his business. And let's see if I can flash it open again. It's pretty lengthy on getting into a lot of the problems you run into. Then on the back, there's a picture of him standing on a roof by a chimney, or supposedly so, and also gives a number and so forth where to get a hold of you. And let's see now, how do you really decide, if a chimney is safe or not? Now, I know there's a lot of chimneys out here. You see a lot of chimney fires in the news, and there's a lot of them that really aren't built to even withstand what you put into them.
Gone through a lot of training for this, and here we have. This is some of the things that that I've had to study. This is from the Energy Alternatives Institute. Extensive training in installation of wood heat, stoves, fireplaces, and all that. I've taken courses with Tennessee Valley Authority, TVA, and this here is the authority. NFPA 211, the National Fire Protection Association Standard 211 for chimneys, fireplaces, vents, and solid fuel burning appliances. That is what the standards that I go by in determining whether a chimney is safe to use and whether it can be repaired, whether it's worth repairing, if it needs cleaning. The National Fire Protection Association recommends annual inspection.
Yeah,
and
I could see why.
Cleaning if there's a quarter of an inch of creosote. And quarter of an inch doesn't really sound like very much when you say it real fast. But that quarter of an inch in a 15-foot tall flue represents quite a few gallons of creosote.
Make a heck of a fire.
Highly flammable.
Yeah.
Highly flammable.
I found that out at one time, how flammable it is. And I was fortunate, really, that I didn't have any damage out of it. I know a lot of people do. And it does cause a few deaths around.
Yeah, the way I got interested in the business was having my own house burned down from a chimney fire.
It's a tough way to learn.
Yeah, that is the place that I'm coming from. That's what I'm bringing to the business.
Yeah.
As everything about the business can be summed up in one word: safety.
Okay, you've been doing this for how long now?
4 years now.
4 years.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, Bob. What types of unsafe installations do you see the most?
I guess the most common one that I see is inadequate clearance to combustible materials, particularly at the thimble, where the thimble goes through the wall. Now here is this. This came from a house in Scott County. I don't know whether the camera can focus on this. This was all the clearance that there was around the thimble. There's a thimble 6 inches inside, 8 inches outside diameter right here.
Okay, let's now a normal thimble. Do you have a normal size of what a
no,
thimble
but
would be?
it'd be approximately this size.
Okay. What kind of clearance should you have around a thimble?
NFPA 211 states 12 inches from the outside of the thimble to combustible materials.
So we're talking about at least that much safe.
At least 4 times as big as this.
Yeah. Okay.
And this right here, you can see where the wood had started to pyrolyze I don't know whether that's the first stage of combustion.
It's kind of a
it's super dry.
Yeah.
And when wood gets in that condition, it could ignite at temperatures as low as 200 degrees.
Almost looks like an ember out of a fire.
And this board here was nearly touching the thimble in this particular case. And you can see the it's actually charred there. And I immediately spotted this, and I told the homeowner, you know, you've got a problem. And they said, go ahead and fix it. And this was all covered up with paneling. This was behind this. This was behind the thimble.
Oh, hey.
You know, this was filled with mortar here with large cracks in it. And this was the original outside sheathing of the house. And the thimble was actually, they cut a hole just about big enough to pass the thimble through. And, you know, the next fire could have set it off. This was in August that I inspected it. And if they had checked it, you know, if they had lighted a fire, say, the first cool day in September,
could have went up.
Easily could have set the house on fire.
Okay. I know a lot of times stoves, when you first start them up, first time of the year, you might run them a little bit too hot and even get the pipe red. If that pipe would get red, it wouldn't take much at all to ignite that entire.
Not much at all, no.
Okay.
Another common safety defect that I see is no liner.
No liner at all.
No.
Okay. I think that has been a common thing in past years.
Yeah.
I believe you've got a sample of.
Now here's a piece of an old unlined flue block.
Yeah, set that right up there.
Yeah. You can see here how the creosote had penetrated into the block.
Yeah, it's actually in there
It's
half-inch deep. Yeah.
Half-inch deep in there. And the creosote itself is an inch thick there.
Well, that is. It's just like tar.
Yeah, and it will burn like tar. Let's see if we can turn this around.
Now this is the old type of block that everybody used to use.
You know, there you can see this is the mortar joint here, and you can see
it's even seeped back into
the mortar joint there. Yeah.
In fact, right over here, it's within about an inch of being to the outside of the block.
Right. And you know, when these blocks were new, they were 3.5 inches thick. And this hole here is just a shade over 8 inches. I have seen them so eroded that this is almost 9 inches in diameter. The acid in the acid in the creosote eats away the cement, and these little pebbles fall down at the bottom, and the wall becomes thinner and thinner.
Okay, that's why then that it's getting out through the mortar joint. It actually eats away the mortar.
It chemically dissolves the flue block.
Okay, let me ask you, if somebody watching has a flue with this type of block, without totally dismantling it, can you fix it to where it is safe?
Yes, usually I can. Sometimes they're beyond repair.
Yeah. Okay. Say it's not in as bad.
Now this piece, this came out of a flue that I put a new liner in. I put a stainless steel pipe in. This is intended for putting into a chimney. It comes in 4-foot joints and it's riveted together.
Now stainless steel, it'll last pretty good while.
The manufacturer guarantees it for 10 years.
Oh, it does have a good 10-year guarantee with it.
And they expect it to last 25 or 30 years, at which point it can be replaced again.
Okay, but it goes in this type of block.
It's very easy to put it in this type of block.
Because I don't believe this type of block here you can put the old clay liner in.
No, there's no. They were originally made with the idea of putting a round clay liner in it, but apparently they don't make them anymore. It would be the clay liner would be too thin walled to fit inside this to get a 6-inch inside diameter.
Okay. Well, now you when you slide that down, I guess you assemble it as you
it's assembled.
Slide it down, and then you've got some sort of a thimble attachment
There's
to it.
There's a T, and you end up having a stainless steel thimble.
Oh, we do have a stainless steel thimble too.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can repair that, or repair some of this type.
Right. Just last week I said, you know, they wanted me to reline it. I told them it wasn't worth it. because it was the flue was in such bad condition.
Okay.
If it's not extensively cracked and broken.
Okay. If somebody needs a new flue, you can build them a new flue.
I don't usually. I do know a couple guys that I would trust to follow directions to build a new flue, but I don't do the work personally.
Oh, okay. So you just determine whether it needs a new one or not, and if you can't put the liner in, then you try to direct them to.
Yeah, I do install prefabricated chimneys sometimes, the triple wall metal ones.
Oh, okay. Well, that's kind of an outside chimney, isn't it?
No, it starts at the ceiling. It's just,
okay, it can go through.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think on a triple wall you can actually have zero clearance, can't you?
No.
No?
Absolutely not, no.
Okay.
2-inch clearance.
2-inch clearance
2-inch clearance on those. Matter of fact, I spent all day correcting an installation on that at Standing Stone State Park.
Oh, okay.
If there was zero clearance to combustibles, and there was a little label right on the pipe that said 2 inches.
Oh, it does say it.
It has. It's all the manufacturers specify 2 inches.
Okay. Well,
2-inch clearance to combustibles.
Somebody must have been like me and didn't read so soon.
I've also seen that kind of flue installed upside down.
Oh.
With half-inch letters that say up, pointing down.
Okay. All right. I'd say you run into quite a few things. Is there any other type of unsafe installations you run into?
I see something new every day.
Do you?
I see a new way of building a flue or chimney wrong every day, and that's working on my third 1,000.
Yeah. On how many?
About the third 1,000 chimneys that I'm in the third 1,000. I don't know exactly. I haven't counted them up, but there's a lot of chimneys that I've seen. And
that's quite a few. Do you see any good chimneys? I mean,
every so often.
Every so often. Okay.
The vast majority are there's something wrong with them.
Okay.
Usually, it's not a real bad defect, but it's something that, why did they do it that way? That kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, it's, of course, I'd say for as many people as there is, there's that many ways to build a chimney.
The right way, the wrong way, and the Army way.
Yeah, okay. All right, now, do you clean chimneys year-round, I guess?
Yeah.
Do you have some good customers that try to get you in the summertime when it's not your busy season,
right.
I guess?
Right.
Okay, and now you say in the wintertime, usually about 3 times is about common?
I clean my own 3 or 4 times a year.
Yeah.
Now, I don't let extensive buildup happen at all.
Mm-hmm.
Now, most people can get by once a year, but you certainly can't make any generalizations, really.
No, I was going to say it takes more than once on mine, I know for sure.
All the stove manufacturers in the manuals say inspect it every 2 weeks to see how fast it's happening, and then when you determine how fast the creosote is building up, then once a month for yourself.
Okay.
And I can tell you, it's a rare person that inspects it once a month.
Yeah, I'd go along with that. Yeah, you don't think about it, really. You
right.
know,
smoke goes up the chimney just the same.
Right.
And
as long as it seems to be burning good, nobody thinks about
right.
it. And I guess that's where they get into trouble.
If it doesn't rain, the roof doesn't leak.
That's right. That's about the same generalization. Yeah. All right. Say a homeowner's had a chimney for a good while. All right. He's had no problems whatsoever. Say like me. I've had a chimney for, gosh, 5 years now. I've never really had any major problems except for the creosote buildup. Can I consider I've got a safe chimney? Just from that.
Well, let's draw a little analogy.
Okay.
All right. Suppose you're going down the road. You've never had an accident in your life in your car. You're going down the road, come around an uphill curve, and some drunk drives into your lane and smacks head on into you.
Okay.
Things like that can happen all the time.
Yeah.
And just the fact of the time having passed doesn't mean a thing.
Okay. You still need to have it inspected.
You can be the safest driver in the world, and some crazy can be driving on the wrong side of the road, and you can have an accident that's absolutely not your fault. You can burn wood for years and years and years and years and years and not have a problem, and then your house will burn down. The nature of the fuel is such that it's unpredictable, And what you have to do is to keep on top of it, maintain it, and maintain the venting system, maintain the chimney, and inspect it, and just make sure that things can't happen that shouldn't happen. You need to correct things like this thing right here, the box around the thimble, and that charred board. There was no evidence at all. This was 15 years old or more. And there was no evidence sitting in the house that anything was wrong. Now, going by the
accident waiting to happen.
Right, going by standards, I could see that it needed correction. And then when I had the paneling off the wall, there it was. The evidence was right there.
Okay, that's something else. If you inspect somebody's chimney, usually is there any way that you can inspect it without, say, tearing into something? You know, normally can you pretty well look at it and
yes,
and determine?
I can. There's a lot of things that I can determine just by dropping a trouble light down. That's the most common method of inspection. There are small video cameras that can be dropped down the chimney with use a little monitor that sits in the living room. One of these days, perhaps, when I can afford the $1,600.
Well, one of the things that I noticed in your brochure, you advertise that guaranteed no mess.
Right.
So that's probably something to make a lot of people happy. Because that is a messy job.
It is a messy job. I have a large portable dust collector called a vacuum cleaner. It has a 4-inch hose. Moves 700 cubic feet per minute, and the dust just gets sucked into that.
Okay, well, let's see. Let's take a look. You got a tool you brought with you. Let's take a look and see one of the things you use.
This is from one of the more common sizes of flue. This is a 11-inch square, 11-inch square brush.
Okay, you have different sizes.
Yeah. The important thing with the flue brush is to get one that fits the flue. If you have a 7-inch square flue, you need a 7-inch square brush, and 11-inch square. 7 inches common stove size.
Yeah,
that's the common stove size. And fireplace size is commonly 10, 11, or 12. It varies.
That brings up another point. What about fireplaces? You know, some fireplaces I've seen have got enormous openings.
Right. Fireplaces don't tend to make as much creosote as wood stoves because it's very hard to control the amount of oxygen they get. They get as much air as they want, and they burn hotter and cleaner. The flue temperature is always high in a fireplace. Well, not always, but it's generally it's higher in a fireplace than in a stove, because in a stove the combustion is controlled so closely.
Okay. And
when you, as I said before, when your flue temperature drops below 250 degrees, that's when you get this happening.
I know when I when I light my stove and get it going real good, I've got about 30 foot of flue liner, and
that's a tall chimney.
It is, and when it finally gets hot, it draws good.
Yeah.
I mean, it draws constantly.
A hot chimney
good.
Always draws better than a cool chimney.
Yeah, I guess that's the thing with the fireplace. Then, if it gets good and hot and stays that way all the time, it'll draw real good.
Now this here, this actually came from a fireplace, but it was a fireplace that was closed up and had a stove plugged into it. Drop it.
Oh, okay. It actually
the
was
stove
being used as a flue. Then.
It was used as a flue.
Well, that's a big chunk.
This was, well, there was 30 or 40 gallons of stuff like this. I had to remove this with a hammer and chisel.
Well, I'll tell you what, if it ever got started, that'd be a good fire.
This was the only thing that was holding the damper of the fireplace open.
Oh, heck.
And this, a little thing that I found in a fireplace, in a chimney, actually.
Oh, that was
in a chimney. Yeah.
Okay, let's see here. Let's try to take a look at that one right there.
This came from the same house as that big chunk there.
Now,
this was hidden. This side was down, and I pulled it out, and I looked at it, and I put my thumb through it.
Now, obviously, this isn't a stainless steel piece.
This is just ordinary thin.
It's like I use on my stack going to the flue.
This is ordinary thin stovepipe. It was 5 or 6 years old, and should have been thrown out about 5 years ago. This is far too thin for safety, and it had an enormous amount of creosote in it, which I wish I had left it in, but I cleaned it out. And in the process of cleaning it, just brushed holes through it.
Okay, Bob, let's do a little recapping now, back over everything we've talked about. And one thing we definitely want to put in here, that you are a professional chimney sweep. Okay, and you are certified by various
the National Chimney Sweep Guild, TVA, the Energy Alternatives Institute, and Tennessee Chimney Sweep Guild.
Okay. Now, you said something earlier, and we skipped over it about, I believe there's an 800 number that you can call for TVA.
TVA has a bunch of different publications. One of them is called Safe and Sound Masonry Chimneys. There's Chimney Fires, the Creosote Problem.
Okay, I've got it.
Make sure your wood heater is safe, and safe and warm wood heat. They have all. These are all available from TVA, and they have an 800 number that you can call to get it. It's 800-362-9250. We were talking about professionalism. Wood heat is about the only heat that isn't normally installed by a professional. If you have electric heaters, they're installed by a professional electrician. If you have gas furnace, it's installed by a professional gas furnace installer. You have an oil furnace, it's installed by a professional oil furnace installer. But wood stoves, you can go to the hardware store, get it, plug it into a hole in the wall in your house, and that's it. And in Australia, you just can't do that. Australia, you have to have a licensed, nationally licensed wood stove installer install your wood stove. In the entire country of Australia in 1984, the population of 15 million, there were 3 fires related to wood heat.
I was about to ask you what kind of percentage you had there.
Out of a population of 15 million,
15 million.
There were 3 fires related to wood heat, where there was a nationally licensed wood stove installer program. And that's one of the biggest reasons, I think, that wood heat gets a bad name. Now, wood heat can be just as safe. Australia shows that. I mean, I'm sure that there are more gas fires than 3 in Australia, gas-related fires or oil-related fires. If wood heat is installed properly, if it's maintained properly, and if it's operated properly, it can be just as safe as any other form of heat.
Is there anything else you need to cover on this, Bob?
I think that about covers it.
Okay. Well,
I'll tell you what,
it's good to have you here, and I'd like
appreciate
to
the
have
invitation.
you back in the spring, and like one fellow said, see if you got an arm in a sling where you fell off a roof, or
I hope not,
or how it went. What kind of problems you did run into.
Mm-hmm.
So thanks for being with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Well, we want to thank Bob for being with us, and hope he gets back in the spring and he doesn't get hurt falling off a roof. And that's it for this segment. I would like to thank everyone for watching tonight. We hope that you have enjoyed our magazine, and be sure and tune us in next time. We would also like to invite you to send us your comments and ideas for future shows. This is Jerry Stovall saying thank you and good night.